guys, it's Phoebe here from Little Grey Box with Matt behind the camera. And on this channel, we share with you all our experiences and tips to help you travel well. And in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing some of our favorite things to see, eat and do in Hanoi, Vietnam. Now, if you don't already, be sure to subscribe right now so you never miss a single episode. But let's dive right in. We kicked off our most recent visit to Hanoi with 2 guided tours with the guys at Vietnam Vintage Vespa Tours. Now, if you've been to Hanoi or Vietnam in general, you will know there are scooters everywhere. So being able to climb on the back of a scooter and get in there amongst it was such an exhilarating experience, and it gave me a chance to see Hanoi from a completely different perspective. Now, what's great about these guys is they offer a range of tours. We did a foodie-based one and kind of a city exploration one. Our guides were so knowledgeable. They took us to some really amazing places and gave us that in-depth history and knowledge that we wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. Now, in terms of must-try food, I've got quite a few recommendations for you. One of my all-time favorite places to eat in Hanoi has to be Bún Chả Hoang Lien, which you might recognize as the Bún Chả restaurant where Obama and Bourdain ate together on Bourdain's show. Now, I thought it was going to be super touristy and crowded and the food wouldn't be any good, but it was amazing. And I have to say, it's probably my highlight food experience from our most recent trip to Hanoi. Another thing Matt and I love to do is get above the city. So there is a little spot called the Diamond Sky Bar, which sits atop a restaurant called Gourmet Corner. The food here is fantastic. You can eat at the bar. The cocktails are amazing. They play great music and you get to see all the beautiful lights of Hanoi below you. Now, street food in Hanoi is definitely king, so do not be afraid to roll up your sleeves and get stuck into some amazing street food like pho, the soup, or banh mi, of course, those beautiful crunchy French bread rolls stuffed full of freshly grilled meat. Another thing Matt and I like to do after dark is head to Beer Street, and yeah, it lives up to the name. Basically, you have seats lining the sides of the streets, you sit there, the beers are cheap, they are ice cold, and you get to do a spot of people watching, which I personally really enjoy. And you guys, you have not been to Hanoi unless you have tried some Vietnamese coffee. Now, I am gonna warn you right up front, this stuff is pretty much rocket fuel, so take it easy if it is your first time experiencing it. And my favorite place to go is a chain called Kong Cafe. They have restaurants or locations dotted all over Hanoi, so you can duck in, the aircon is cold, the Wi-Fi is free, and the coffee is delicious. Hanoi is an ancient city and it has a really interesting history, so it's well worth going to some of the temples and cathedrals dotted around the place. And I'm going to share with you 3 of my favorites. I absolutely love visiting the Temple of Literature. It is so picturesque and just a beautiful, calm space. The temple itself was built way back in 1070 and it's dedicated to Confucius, scholars and sages. Another highlight spot for me is the Tran Quoc Pagoda. It is just beautiful and it is the oldest Buddhist temple in Hanoi. And of course, my last pick has to be St. Joseph's Cathedral. Now, the neo-Gothic architecture here is just staggering, and the hot tip is to get yourself a lovely little seat at one of the nearby cafes overlooking. You can do a spot of people watching and soak in the views of the cathedral from a distance. You could easily fill your days in Hanoi by simply wandering around exploring the many unique neighborhoods. Now, 2 of my favorite would have to be the French Quarter, located on the southeastern end of beautiful Hoang Kiem Lake. Now, this area, you'll notice there are wider streets, there are some really great luxury hotels, upmarket restaurants, boutiques, galleries, and bookstores. On the opposite end, you have the Old Quarter. Now, this is where you're going to get to explore that narrow maze of never-ending streets and laneways. This is such a great spot to haggle with street vendors, pick up some really cheap goods, maybe explore a few silk stores, and of course, get stuck into some delicious street food. Vietnam is home to some amazing scenery, and Hanoi is the perfect access point to some of the country's most beautiful locations. Now, if you have the time and the budget, I would highly recommend adding either a day trip or a short trip to your itinerary. Ha Long Bay is the perfect one to add onto your itinerary, you guys. It is going to take you about 3.5 hours each way to get from Hanoi to Ha Long Bay. So what they usually do is come and pick you up at your hotel at 7:30 in the morning. By about midday, you're out at Ha Long Bay, you board and you begin your cruise. Now, typically you can choose from 1 or 2 night cruises. The majority of people seem to go for a 1-night cruise. Having done both, I am gonna have to recommend you go with the 2-night cruise if you can. It just gives you a little bit more time to see and experience the area. And trust me, once you get out there, you're not gonna wanna leave. Now, if that sounds like it's a little bit too much in terms of budget or time, you might like to consider a day trip to Ninh Binh. Now, we did this on our most recent trip and it was a real surprise for us. We were blown away by just how beautiful it is out there. We got to ride bicycles around the rice paddy fields. We also got to join a cooking class, and the highlight had to be the epic boat trip that we got to do. Have you ever thought about visiting Hanoi? Is Vietnam on your travel to-do list, or have you visited and you have some great tips for other people? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, you guys, so I can check out all your tips and insight. Now, if you are planning a trip to Hanoi or Vietnam, we have a range of great free travel guides for you here on YouTube and on the website, including a really detailed guide on how to choose the perfect Ha Long Bay adventure. If you found this video useful, be sure to use our affiliate links when you are booking your next adventure either to Hanoi or anywhere in the world. Matt and I will earn a small commission at no extra cost for you. And with that, that brings this week's video to a close. I really hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you don't already, be sure to subscribe right now so you never miss a single episode, and say hello in the comments below. Have a great weekend, you guys, and I will see you with a brand new episode next week. Love ya.